Quite a while ago, I used ColorFab's PLA PHA to create a shift knob for my WRX, and it's been through a number of seasons, a number of temperature changes. I'd like to take it off to see what's happened to it and perhaps make a new one that can withstand the forces of nature a little bit better. I'm Joel, and this is 3D Printing Nerd. This shift knob has served me well. It was printed at 0.2 on the G-Max, and just from usage, my hand has actually smoothed over some of the parts. I can see that there's some dust in the numbers or in the letters on top because I never put anything on the inside. So I believe we just slowly take the boot down, and then we can unscrew this all the way to the top. It performed really well. I was really happy with the shift knob. I like the feel of it. I like the touch. I thought it was a really cool accessory for the car. The only thing is I've had to tighten it over the years. I think it's been through 5 or 6 twists. So I think the heat from the outside and the metal pressing against it probably caused it to deform, but we're gonna take it off and take it apart to see if that's the case. There we go. All right, let's go somewhere where it's not in the car. We can take this apart and we can have a look. Here we are, we're back in my office, and the bench outside is actually being used, so we get to do it in here. And here's what I found out. It looks like, while I thought the shift knob was actually performing well, once you turn it over, you can see that this has been completely obliterated. It's as if it was stretching it as it was heat treating it. It's also got a lot of dust in there. Wow, that's just everything gross. I really can't wait to see what's on the inside of this because it's been years. I'm scared to see because there's a nut on the inside, the nut that actually goes around the shifter, and I don't know what that's going to look like, or if it's going to be embedded into the model, or I have no idea. So this is a bit of an exploratory mission right here. Okay, so here's the nut on the inside. It doesn't look like it's been compressed any, but it's almost concave. This is concave a bit. It looks like, you can't really tell from here, but it looks like the inside, the bottom layer of where the shaft goes on the inside, it looks like it's been pushed up into the model, into the infill. To say that it worked, and that isn't correct, because it sort of worked. It kind of worked, but in the end, the plastic did deform, and the plastic, I believe, was going to continue to deform each and every summer as the car got to a certain temperature. So here's the old shifter. I need to print with some better materials. I think I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use High Five Blue and Chuck Hellebuck's Candy Apple Red. So I've got my WRX shift knob here. I've got it reprinted in the High Five Blue PLA, which is HT PLA, which means it can be heat treated. If we heat treat this, I'm wondering if it could withstand temperatures within the car and then it wouldn't deform. So here's these two pieces. And on my left is the HT PLA, and on the right is the ColorFab PLA PHA. And you can tell that the right one didn't perform well at all. So now what Alex and I need to do, I mean, you weren't supposed to know he's here, but he's here anyway. Alex is gonna hopefully teach us what it means to heat treat PLA and whether or not the High Five Blue will perform well. Annealing or heat treating PLA is possible. Here's Alex. He's going to talk about it.
So we have 2 different types of PLA. One that likes to stay in an amorphous state, and one that can be transitioned into a crystalline state.
Okay, and this is High Five Blue PLA, which is based on the Proto Pasta HT PLA.
Right.
This is a non-HT PLA. This is a random no-name PLA off a spool that I found on the ground.
So the whole idea of the HT PLA, the HT in front of the PLA, is to express that it can be heat treated for higher temperature resistance. And by higher temperature resistance, I mean maintaining more stiffness to higher temperatures. So if you're going to put something in a hot car and you want it to hold shape, it makes sense to heat treat that item.
Okay, well, we're standing in front of an oven and it's preheated to 225 degrees Fahrenheit. Why is that?
We found that that's a pretty good temperature to take PLA through its transformation from amorphous to crystalline. So we're gonna put these thin wall vases in and see what happens under heat. And let's just discover together what the result is.
Before we do that though, what are your predictions?
Well, I suspect that the HT PLA will go through a change and become more rigid at that temperature in the oven, and this more generic PLA will lose shape and sort of collapse in the oven.
Oh, because it'll maintain an amorphous state, it
Right.
won't be able to hold shape and it'll collapse upon itself.
Correct.
Whereas the prediction for this HT-PLA vase is that it will crystallize and it will be able to hold its shape because it will lose its amorphous properties.
There is a transition point where the material becomes first more pliable before it firms up. If you're doing that and you're doing that unsupported, there is some risk for distortion during the change. But this one will probably flop all the way down, and this one may change shape slightly.
But okay, well, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, indeed.
You ready?
Yeah.
So in the oven is a piece of wood. We're not using metal because metal can transfer the heat to the object.
It's more conductive,
right? It's more
right? It's
conductive,
going to
okay.
radiate as well. So we want to, ideally, I mean, this isn't a convection oven. I like my convection oven at home because it's the most even heating.
Do we need to close it?
Yes, let's close the oven.
Well, how long do we have to
treating.
wait for this?
With a thin wall vase like this, it's going to happen in a matter of like seconds to minutes.
Can't really see through it very well. I mean,
I know.
should we take a peek?
My oven at home also you can see. But-
Your oven sounds wonderful.
Would you like to come see my oven
I would.
sometimes?
I would like to roast coffee and come see your oven. But can we?
Let's take a peek. I'm
Okay.
curious.
They look
No
the
change yet.
They look the same.
Okay. Usually 2 to 3 minutes when I've done vases before
Okay.
you see a difference. So
Okay. We've got 6:01 on the clock. We'll be back at 6:03.
okay,
It's
Hey.
6:03 on the clock. Hey, back. You want to check?
let's take a look. Oh.
Ooh. So if I reach in, this is something that
Is that a flexible filament?
it's very, and this one is still rigid. Ow, and it's really hot. So that one still has a lot of firmness to it. Whereas like this one, it's almost
Yeah, it's like a shifter boot.
it's almost like a shifter boot. This one though, if I squeeze it, look at that. It's hot.
It's still
Ow.
warm, so yeah, it's going to be softer, but
it maintains its shape.
that's the
And
point.
when it's been deflected a bit, it springs back to its shape. Wow. And so the difference is that this is a material that can be annealed, and it's going from an amorphous state to a crystalline state.
You got it.
And this other material doesn't have the ability to go to a crystalline state, and it maintains an amorphous set of properties
At least
because it's
not rapidly enough to survive the change. So if you leave this in long enough, this will crystallize, but not before it's already totally lost its shape.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
But with information like that, you should interrupt, and that's good to know. So if someone was doing this at home, though, this is very typical of what a home user of this sort of method could experience, right? Oh, look
Is
at
it
that! It's
starting to get more firm?
It's starting to
Right,
get firm.
there you go.
But
It's already deformed and
it's
not
already
usable.
deformed.
So, and what? Yeah, it just won't stand up
It won't
anymore.
stand up anymore.
So yeah,
So, but this one here, look, it's rigid.
right.
That's amazing. Wow, and like the bottom, it's not even squishy, right?
Right.
It's a flat surface without any organic shape to it. It's not squishy.
We want to make beautiful things, right? With the beautiful filaments and have them be keepsakes, you know, things that you cherish and keep. So if heat is a concern and may like damage your precious thing, then like you can go ahead and bake it to preserve it.
That's really cool. And this vase, it's perfect. Well, thanks for the tip. I guess we're gonna cook dinner in this, so we should probably clear this out. What do you say?
That's a good idea. I'm getting hungry.
One of the things that we forgot to mention is that when heat treating or annealing the PLA, you could experience shrinkage, and we can kind of show you what's going on here. So this is the one that was heat treated, and this is the one that we printed as a backup. You can tell that the one that was heat treated is symmetrical, but
A little skinnier.
it shrank in on itself just a little bit. And is it taller?
It's close, but it could have grown a little bit.
It could have shrunk as a, like
Yeah.
the inward compression or the inward shrinking could have made it a little bit taller.
I mean, for an artistic piece, it may not matter. You get the improved properties and it's all good. And this is gonna be a geometry dependent experience. But for folks that really need the properties, but also need the form, they're taking special steps like creating fixturing for when they heat treat to retain the shape.
But and let's be clear, this is a single wall vase.
Yeah.
I mean, the heat is going to affect this rather quickly, and for a single walled vase, I think it performed pretty well.
It's still beautiful. It's still useful. If the diameter of it isn't critical to the use or function, then it's and it's perfectly acceptable. And now it can survive the higher temperatures.
And now you can take a road trip with it, so you can put a nice flour in there for mom.
Yeah. Take care of your mom.
Take care of mom.
Yeah.
Mom. Here's my shift knob with Chuck Hellebuck's Racer Red.
Candy apple.
Candy apple red
Right.
PLA.
Beautiful
as the
car-like
WRX.
finishes, right?
It is, and then my High Five Blue, but they're both HT PLAs, which means we can heat treat them or anneal them. But there's no easy way to do this in the oven. You don't want the pressure sitting on this part where the boot goes around, because you saw what it looked like in the Color Fab PLA PHA. You don't want it just sitting like this, because it's going to squish down and have a flat section. So there we go. We're going to use the power of eggs. So we just put it like that. It cradles it, it holds it, and it allows it to crystallize while maintaining its form, since we're not going to be putting a lot of pressure on the sides.
Perfect.
We've preheated the oven to 225. This is a thicker object. How long is it going to be in for?
I'd give it more 5 to 10 minutes.
5 or 10. That's
So
a lot.
let's just go 10.
Let's go 10.
It's better to have more.
Okay. Bye-bye. My kitchen timer says 6. So at least that's 6 plus another 4, because something is in the lower oven.
Yeah.
We also put the hardware in it first, and that's because when you heat treat or anneal something, you're going to get 1 to 1.5% shrinkage, right?
Yes.
Because the screw holes and the places that hold the nuts, they're a very specific size. So we didn't want it to shrink past being able to fit those in. So we put the hardware in, thinking that if the shrinkage does happen around those areas, it will essentially hold the nuts.
Yeah, I think it's a great strategy. We also made sure not to over tighten those.
That's
to,
right.
Again, squeeze and put unnecessary pressure.
Right,
to
because we didn't
deform
want
the object.
compression. Yeah.
Right.
So we'll be back in 10 minutes.
All right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the piece is now in the oven for 10 minutes-ish.
Right.
Let's see. I haven't looked at it. You
Yeah.
haven't looked at it. Let's see what
No.
it looks like.
You do the honor.
No, you do it.
No, you do it.
Okay. It looks the same.
Rad.
Oh wait, it's a little bit squishy.
Oh, you know, it's a little more insulated down here.
It's only soft on the sides. It's not soft on
Maybe
the
right
top.
where it was insulated.
No, it's even. The
Okay.
distribution of the feel is even
Oh, okay,
instead of
okay,
it
okay.
being specifically where it was insulated.
Got it. All right.
I'm that confident.
So we're good to go.
This Easter egg is
Done.
good to go.
It's beautiful.
But at this point, we're gonna let it cool, and then we're gonna go install it.
Yeah.
It's yours. Here you
Okay.
go. Okay. Well, we're back in the car, and here's how this works, just in case you haven't seen the video last time. You put this piece on. There we go. And it goes down a bit. I don't know why it's so hard. For some reason, it's really hard to make it go. I think maybe in trying to get that nut out, I may have marred the threading a bit. So here's what we need to do. That shaft goes up into the WRX. I want to make sure it's in the right position, and I want to make sure that shaft goes up as far as possible, because I don't want a short or a long shifter. That looks pretty good. So I can put it right there and just give it a little twist.
Though it does look like a benefit that the nuts are staying in place.
Oh, hugely. And I think having the heat treatment kind of shrink around the nuts to make them stay, I think that's perfect. Oh, there it is. Oh. Did I get it? There we go. Wait! Oh, did you see that? That little wiggle. There was that wiggle. Oh, that wiggle. It's been a few days. The next day, it's post. And that wiggle, it threw me because I tightened the knob, and then it wiggled back and forth, and then it tightened up, and I was like, maybe this is good. But in fact, it wasn't good. And when I talked to Alex over at Proto Pasta again, and I was like, I think it's failing. We came up with this solution in that annealed plastics, or plastics that can be annealed, they're more resistant to temperature, but it just means they're not as soft at a higher temperature. And so here's the shift knob. It's right here, and it still looks good, but I could tell that the gear shifter, the threaded part, the threaded rod of the gear shifter was pushing up into here. So what happens is this nut that usually sits right in here, because the gear shifter is pulling down on this and going up, what happens is it ends up stretching this part out, and it'll just keep shoving itself into this hole up until it gives. And that's the problem, right? We're trying to replace a metal part with a plastic part. But I didn't want to be defeated. And I thought maybe if we had some sort of metal casing inside of this, then it could tighten down. But no, that wasn't going to be it. The solution, it turns out, and I think this is going to work, is this. This right here. This is a nylock. It's a nut, just like this one, but it has a nylon insert in it. And it's that nylon insert that grips the threads that you're turning the nut around. So, whereas this nut right here could turn freely no matter where it was, a nylock nut, a nut with that nylon insert is actually, once you turn it and stop, it's not easily going to turn from there. And I happen to have this. This is a carbon fiber nylon shift knob, and I think it looks amazing. Chuck's Candy Apple Red. That's the Candy Apple Red in there. I was able to get an insert in there, and it looks so good. It looks so good, but the blue is mine. This is mine. So here's what I did. I went to the hardware store, and I got a bunch of hardware. In fact, it's, there's the list. I don't know if you can see it right there, but it's an M12 1.25 nylock nut. There it is. It's 6 M320 screws, and it's 6 M3 nuts. So I'm hoping I can use clamps to fit that nylock into that hole, because PLA will give a little bit under force. And then as you can see right here, I had to use my rotary tool to carve out some of the plastic. And the reason I did that is because the nylock is a little bit taller than a standard nut. And apparently when you trim off carbon fiber reinforced nylon, it embeds itself around your sanding surface. So we'll see if I can actually use this tool. Flying by the seat of my pants, folks. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to press fit the nylock into this, and then I'm gonna dig this one out like this, and then I'm gonna press it down, we're gonna put it in the car, and we're gonna verify it works. Yes. First, let's press the nylock in. So because this has been annealed, it's experienced a little bit of shrinkage, about 1%.
I was in the pool!
So we'll see if this can go in. Oh, it went in easily. I guess clamps, or I guess plastic is no match for the clamps, but there's that little space right there. So this is pressed in right here. This is not going anywhere. Let's use this maybe as a template, and then we'll see. I don't even know if this is gonna work. Here we go. The worry is that PLA is going to melt before it sands down with something like this. So what I need to do is keep it moving. And remember, this piece on top, is the whole middle part of it is essentially decorative, essentially. So that's what it looks like right now. And it doesn't really matter that I've exposed some of the infill. I don't think that's going to be a problem whatsoever. Let's see if it fits. Oh, and it's so close. It's so close. So just a little bit more on this side. I know it looks like a mess, which is okay because I was not sanding, I was essentially melting plastic. But my only worry is that the outer part of it is okay. So something like that, that'll work. That will work. Just Jim Dandy. Now, because it was annealed and there was a little bit of shrinkage, the nuts themselves aren't going to fit the easiest, I don't think. So far, no problem with the screws. They're threading in just fine. What's great with the nylock is no matter the orientation of the shifter, because the nylon insert is gonna keep it wherever it needs to be, it's just gonna work. So that's why I can assemble it right here and then put it on. I don't have to assemble it in the car. Problem is these nuts are small, so they're not gonna. So what I'm trying to do is line the nut up with the screw and then have it thread and bring the nut down into place. That's the goal. Perfect. That's gonna sit just fine. Let me get these other ones all attached and then take it back out to the car and we'll install it. That's looking good, so there we go. Ivan Miranda would be so proud of me. I'm gonna take the blue one out to the car, put it on, but here we go. So here's the two of them. Which one do you like better? Do you like the high five blue with the candy apple red, or do you like the carbon fiber nylon with the candy apple red? I don't know, let me know in the comments. But for now, while you're deciding, let's go put it in the car. Whoa, we are We are back in the car. It's a zillion degrees outside. Let's see, my e-brake is on. I'm gonna pull this back into neutral, and there it is. Let's put it on. So the nylock, the first part of the threads don't have the nylon piece in it, but once it does, whoa, wow. Boy, when they say nylon grips, they are not kidding. There we go. And then that comes up. There's my quarters. Oh yeah, there we go. So the reason you want that nylon in there, or you at least want something that's gonna stick, is because you don't want your gear shift knob to roll around a bit while you're shifting. It's not safe. Also, I think what was going on before is the gear shift itself, the metal was getting warm and being pressed against the underside of this top part, and it was that pressure with the warmth that was causing it to deform. So with it on like this, the nylock is kind of embedded in there, and it's going to get warm, but it's not going to be putting upward pressure in order for it not to wiggle, I guess. There we go. It's in. All right, well, you know what? Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. We'll give this a try. We'll see if it works. Let me know if you've printed something with your car, and don't forget, vote. Is the carbon fiber nylon with candy apple red the winner, or should I keep on my high five blue with candy apple red? It's up to you. If you made it this far, you're awesome. Don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell. Don't forget, I love you guys, as always. High five. Oh, I'm sweaty.